I'm Phineas Hook, coming to you from my mobile recording studio once again. Today we're going to be talking about another game on the Commodore Amiga called The King of Chicago. But before we get into that, I mentioned before that a lot of games that I played on the Commodore Amiga were also available on other platforms, on DOS, on console in some cases. And in the instances that I got to play them both on the Commodore Amiga and on something else, the Commodore Amiga version was always better. And The King of Chicago is a really good example. Now, this is a game from Cinemaware. And Cinemaware is the company that made It Came from the Desert and It Came from the Desert 2 that I reviewed in the last video. And I have to admit, by and large, I'm a pretty big fan of old Cinemaware games. They did Rocket Ranger. Rocket Ranger is pretty fun. Obviously, I was a big fan of It Came from the Desert. Their most well-known game is Wings, which if you're into retro gaming at all, you've probably heard of. The King of Chicago was available on Commodore Amiga, which was the version I grew up playing. It was available on DOS, and it was available on the Atari. Comparing the Atari version and the Commodore Amiga version, you can see that the Commodore Amiga version it looks more polished. The graphics look cleaner, and the game just seems to run more smoothly. And then there's the DOS version, which is, well, terrible. The King of Chicago is a gangster game starring young Elvis Presley. It's a close enough resemblance to Elvis that you have to think it was intentional, because, as we all know, Elvis was famous for his gangster roles. You play as Elvis if he was a gangster named Pinky, who has aspirations to take over the town. The first step to taking over the town is taking over the gang you're a part of. The current mob boss is an old guy who's apparently getting a little soft, and the gang is losing respect for him. You can either run him off or kill him. If you run him off, it's a lot easier to get the rest of the gang on your side. If you kill him and you don't play your cards right, you can end up getting killed for retribution. Sometimes nearly immediately, by a guy who is apparently standing in the same room, only a foot to the left. Pinky does not have the best peripheral vision. You can also lie and say that a rival gang member did it. But one way or another, you have to get the gang on your side once the old man is gone. Either by convincing them that the old man had to go, or that you're completely innocent in the matter. The game progresses in this sort of choose-your-own-adventure style. And really, it's a very simple concept, but the atmosphere is very cool, and the paths the story can take through your choices is fairly diverse. The object of the game is to control all four parts of town. The north side, the south side, the west side, and the loop. You can gain control of the different parts of town by wiping out rival gangs, making smart business decisions to run their rackets out of business, surgically assassinate kingpins, and buying off corrupt politicians. Unfortunately, a lot of it depends on luck. I'm okay with there being a luck element to the game, but it would be nice if you could overcome bad luck. For example, the Chicago mayoral race is underway, and you can buy out this politician named Burke. You have to funnel some effort and resources into it to get him into your pocket. Then if he wins, you control the mayor. That's a huge boon for your influence in the city. But if he loses, too bad. All the money, effort, and resources you poured into getting Burke to be your guy just got flushed down the crapper. Good luck conquering Chicago now. Corruption abounds in gangland Chicago. You couldn't find some way to rig the election? The South Side is the hardest to conquer. It's owned by the Santucci gang, the South Side gang. They're your rivals. They're the other big gang in Chicago. And you gotta get them out of the way if you want the whole thing to yourself. Also have this annoying flapper girlfriend that's always bugging you for money if you go and visit her. This chick is a gold digger. She will bankrupt your operation if you keep giving her money. The best thing to do is drop her name in the ledger to 0. Do not give her any money. And then just don't visit her. Somebody at Cinemaware must have been in a toxic relationship, and this was their commentary on gold-digging girlfriends. I gotta say, a Tommy gun just looks out of place in the hands of Elvis Presley. Elvis, what are you even doing? Thank you all for watching, everybody. If you have a retro game you'd like me to review, whether it's Commodore Amiga, DOS, Atari, Nintendo, whatever, leave it in the comments below and I'll see if I can find it. And remember, the pen may be mightier than the sword, but the Chicago typewriter always makes headlines. Thank you.